Reading the Bible is not easy. Even though we talk about it being the guidebook for followers of Christ, it doesn't necessarily contain all of the answers. And in fact, sometimes it even gives us questions without necessarily a clear answer. Welcome to Walking Through the Word. For today, we are in John chapter 9, and we see Jesus have an encounter with a man who was blind from birth. And while this encounter happens, the disciples ask him a question. They say, "Rabbi, teacher, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" This is an interesting theological conversation. There are some theological beliefs even today that believe that the sin is passed down. And there is some truth to that. The sins, we are all, because of Adam and Eve, we are all sinners, but we are also sinners because of our own actions. But this is an interesting question here because Jesus gives an answer that might seem a bit controversial. Because he says, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him." Okay, now this is where it gets messy and tricky, because there are people that will read this and they will say, "Wait a minute, does that mean that God intentionally made this man blind from birth so that then he could be healed at this time? In other words, everything went to this purpose?" Believe it or not, that's not the answer that Jesus is giving. And that's not even the question. He's actually not answering their question. You see, he's not answering the how this man got blind or why this man was blind. Instead, he's answering the question, what now? A lot of times in our lives, we get stuck on the whys, or how come this happens to me? God, why did this happen? And the truth is that we don't always have the answer. Sometimes God places us in situations that are there to sharpen us and grow that. We know Scripture tells us. Sometimes things happen because of the sin of the world. In other words, because other people are sinful and because the world is at odds with us, sometimes sin just causes destruction and causes pain. It's hard to tell which one of those things, or even if either one of those things are the answer to the question. But Jesus, again, is not answering that. Instead, he's saying, what now? In other words, when we feel difficult situations upon us, what now? What are we going to do now? The question of why is never going to be answered, and it probably, even if it was answered, is not going to be answered to our satisfaction, if we're being honest. The death of a loved one, we don't necessarily know why it happened, but the question then becomes, what next? What is God going to do next? And that's the question that Jesus is really answering when he says, "I am here that this man might be healed. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world." In other words, I'm here now. How this man got here doesn't matter. What does matter is what I'm going to do next. What does matter is God is going to be glorified. And so after saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. "Go," he told him, "wash in the pool of Siloam." This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. You can drive yourself crazy asking the why question. Why did this happen? How could this happen? You can drive yourself absolutely insane. But ultimately, that's not the question you need to be asking, because you won't get the answer you're looking for. Instead, the question is, now what? What is God going to do with it? What is God going to do with me now in this situation? How can I glorify God? How can I bring God glory? That's exactly what Jesus said here. This man is here. Here is the opportunity I've been presented. Now what am I going to do with it? As followers of Christ, that's how we should be looking at situations. Not with the why did this happen? How could this happen? But instead, how can I, God, now give you glory with the decisions that I make? And Jesus gave this man sight and ultimately gave God the glory for it. And as we look at tomorrow, we're going to see that it, as usual, didn't go well with some people.